Welcome to the Meat and Potatoes Podcast. Today we're here with Shawn Goff, who is the Salt Lake City office managing partner and Mountain West region director for Ernst & Young, and Ryan Westwood, who is the CEO of Simplus and the 2021 Utah Region Award winner for the Entrepreneur of the Year. How are you guys?
Doing well. Thanks for having us.
Thank you both. It's always fun to have two folks, and thanks for taking the time. So we have been involved with this wonderful event since 2016, sponsors and help where we can, spread the word. Tell us a little bit about it, Shawn.
Yeah, so the Entrepreneur of the Year program has been around for over 30 years, and the program was designed really to recognize entrepreneurs that are building amazing companies and having an impact on their communities and the local economy. And it's I'm an accountant by day, right? And so to be involved in the Entrepreneur of the Year program is just a blast for me to hear the stories of these amazing entrepreneurs that are building companies.
And 30 years is a lot of work, time and effort. How long have you been involved with the program locally? Yeah,
so I've been the director of the program here in Utah for about 10 years, but been involved really since I joined Ernst & Young, which was 25 years ago.
Okay. And for those that have put on an event or a wedding or a funeral, anything really, there's a lot of logistics, and you can't streamline it. You just have to go through, and so kudos to you and your team for pulling it off each year. Got a little bit complicated recently. Over the pandemic, you guys have had to adjust on how you did it. Describe that, and looking forward, it's going to kind of get back to normal. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, for sure. 20 and 21 with COVID has been a struggle and a challenge, right? As we shifted to more of a virtual event, moved a lot of the events to virtual, interviews to virtual. And it worked great, and we're glad that we did it. But we are definitely looking forward to getting back to some more in-person events and getting the program more in person as we look forward to 22. And certainly, during 2020 and 21, when we did the program, we were able to see how entrepreneurs shifted their business and reacted to a virtual world. And that was fun to watch, and it was fun to see how these entrepreneurs adjusted their businesses and supported their people and their community during really difficult times. And I'm sure we'll see some of that as we look at 22 as well, as we kind of hopefully come out of the pandemic, and looking forward to seeing how entrepreneurs responded in 22 as well.
Very cool. And so let's get some of the key details out of the way. We'll circle up again at the end, but the event date.
Yeah, so we're still finalizing the gala, but one thing maybe just to make the audience aware of is there are some changes to the program this year. So historically, we had just the Utah Region program. We've combined with a couple other programs, and it now will be called the Mountain West program, and that will include Utah, Oregon, Colorado, and Washington primarily, and then certainly the surrounding states as well. We would recognize entrepreneurs from those states as well. So that's a new opportunity for entrepreneurs here in Utah to network a little bit broader. Certainly, we think the program gives entrepreneurs the opportunity to network with our local entrepreneurs, but it'll also give them an opportunity to meet entrepreneurs and learn about companies outside of Utah as well. And so that'll be the biggest change as we look forward to the 22 program.
Yeah, and a big reason why we're doing this podcast is to get people to apply and go through the process. Correct?
That's right. Yeah, we're just trying to get the word out. We're in the middle of the application phase for the program, and so we're nominating companies right now and entrepreneurs to be a part of the program, and so we've got a bunch of applications in, but still making the push. The deadline for the application is March 4th, so it's about a week from this Friday. So if you're interested, certainly reach out as soon as you can, and we can help you get in. The program is, in fact, it is a true competition. It's different than maybe some of the other recognition awards, and requires the entrepreneur to spend some time completing an application, and then there's interviews that'll happen with our judging panel. So Ernst & Young doesn't decide the winners of the Entrepreneur of the Year program. It's decided by an independent panel of judges that is made up of other entrepreneurs, most of them former winners of the program, and CEOs, and some VC representation from Utah and the other markets that are involved in our program.
Yeah, it's a really good group of judges. And to apply doesn't take that much time, right? If there is more time, and we'll talk with Ryan about that following, but if people are sitting on the fence, they should apply, right?
For sure, yeah. And a lot of the application can be done by the team, right? Maybe your marketing team. There are some essays that need to be written, and I think the judges like to hear the entrepreneur's voice in some of that, some of those essays, and know that they're really interested in participating, and it's not just the team. But a lot of that can be accomplished by sitting down with the team and saying, here's the message we want to have in the application, and then letting your marketing team or help with a lot of that.
Very cool. Okay, so we've got Ryan Westwood, CEO of Simplus, here because you won last year, and apparently it's a heavy award. Like
that was
literally.
that was for the finalist for national.
National, okay.
Yeah. Ryan not only was a winner here in Utah, but went on to compete at national, where he was a finalist down at national as well. So he has 2 trophies actually.
Yeah.
Second one's heavier than the first one.
You need a strong desk.
That's right.
All right. So from your perspective, Ryan, going through the process, it's not everyone gets a trophy with this one, right? Like this is, to Shawn's point, it's a competition. EY has a global presence, global brand. Why would you recommend to other entrepreneurs to go through the process? Why is it worth it from a busy CEO's perspective?
Yeah, good question. So a couple thoughts that I have. One, as I was driving down here to think through some of the things that we did in the process, the application process made me think through and reflect on the journey. And they asked really good questions. I felt like other entrepreneurs or other people were involved in that process and those questions because they were thoughtful. And then it made me think through, okay, what have the last 8 years been like? In a way that, usually as an entrepreneur or CEO, you spend a great majority of your time, because it's your responsibility, thinking about the future. And I think we do a very poor job of looking back, because it's almost against our jobs to be thinking too much about the back. You want to learn from it and then just move forward. The other thing that I felt like it did is the judges were former winners. And so there was a really thoughtful conversation with other entrepreneurs that you respect. And then I've, forged friendships with some of those people post the competition because of that connection through the process. So those 2 things I think were extremely helpful when it's specific to the process part.
Yeah. And so you're always busy as a CEO and have been busy recently over the past few years. Timing is important, right? What ultimately was the decision for you to do it this go around? Because it's time value of money, all of that. So what was the tipping of the scales?
I asked a couple really great entrepreneurial friends that had been through it. And that's why I'm here today, is I felt like I wouldn't have done it had I not talked to them. And they made a few points. They said, one, they're a class organization, EY. They do a really good job at the events. They talked about how their spouses really enjoyed going through the experience. And then I think in general, once I'd gone through it, I didn't expect recognition from the enterprise the way I did. So what I mean by that is you expect your peer entrepreneurs to be excited for you. And I think a lot of people think of the award when they're focused on entrepreneurship in the startup world. But I think the award needs to be viewed more not just as a startup focus, but all the way up to the enterprise, because Ernst & Young is known with all these large organizations as a lot of times they're the ones that handle a lot of the accounting for them. And that was the case that we were acquired by Infosys, and Infosys' accounting group immediately was like, oh, wow, EY? And the EY does some of their auditing. And so for me, it was bigger than the startup community, but it was even affected our large customers and the new company that acquired us.
Yeah. It's a lot of street cred, right? It's like getting into the Ring of Honor maybe for Utah Jazz versus the Hall of Fame, right? There's 2 distinct levels there. So you mentioned looking into the past, which is probably smart, right? History repeats itself, and whether you did something good or mistake, it's good to acknowledge that. But my guess is you didn't do all of the work to build the company, right? Had a lot of teammates and team members, and I assume you used those folks to help with the application and process. What was it like for them to kind of go through the exercise?
Yeah, if I'm trying to answer for them, and boy, can I say what you said with an exclamation point. It's one of those things where even at times, you want, and I actually submitted 1 year before with my team, and then the next year just myself, because I felt so strongly that I didn't want to win unless they knew that we tried to win together.
Yeah.
Because I do think it's really important that everybody understands that the award like that will never happen. You have to be out of your mind if you think you won that award and it didn't take a village.
Yeah.
So I think being recognized and then actually celebrating. I talked about how entrepreneurs don't look back a lot. I've had a weakness throughout my career of, because I am always thinking what's next, and driving, of actually celebrating. So it forces you to take a minute to celebrate and take a deep breath and say, wow, we really did something special.
Yeah. On paper and going through the process, but then also at an actual event.
That's right.
Which is the celebration. And you guys do a great job with the actual event, because that's what it all bubbles up to, right? A lot of fun there.
Yeah, I mean, we see it as a celebration of entrepreneurship. That's really what it's about, and it's about telling these amazing stories. Usually we recognize, 7 or 8 companies every year, and we're there to tell their story and to celebrate. And we have usually 24 finalists, so you're telling the story of 24 entrepreneurs or companies and then recognizing 7 or 8 of those.
Yeah. And so back to you, Ryan, there's obviously a benefit in going through the process, helps the team acknowledge the path and journey that was really fun and hard. But it's also a frothy job market. And it's also, you got to keep the lights on and make as much money as possible for Simplus. Did you find any ancillary benefits in that in recruiting or new partners, new customers?
Yeah, I mean, no question. When you've won and been recognized in that way, it kind of says to a future employee, okay, this entrepreneur's been through some of these storms. They've been successful. They've had a certain amount of success. I can hitch my wagon to this organization and feel more comfortable. So I think it does help with talent and really recruiting talent to your organization. And I also think that, like I was kind of alluding to earlier, is it's recognized, and we're focused on enterprise customers, and even those customers recognize it like you would expect the entrepreneurial community.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the value is there, straight from last year's winner. It's a well-organized, fun event. You don't want to get into a boondoggle. This is not. You guys are very squared away on the operations side. Seamless onboarding and ticket allocation, all of that. And the upside's great for the team. If we were to apply, it would be great for the interns on the team to go through and understand what we do, right? Because a company like Simplus, it's pretty complicated, right? You might have different departments and they might not even know, but if it all comes together, it's oh, look, we're all rowing in the same direction. So cool. We've established that even if you're busy, you should apply. Doesn't really matter what industry, right, Shawn?
No, yeah, we have winners across industries, and it's really, sometimes we'll recognize, emerging companies. So we put some companies in one category or whatever, but really at the end of the day, the judges are just trying to pick the best 7 or 8 companies for that year, and it doesn't matter across industry at all. And really, it's companies from startup to well-established companies. You don't have to be a startup. It could just be that the company's been around for a long time, but in the last few years they've experienced some amazing growth because they've shifted the business in some way, or a new CEO's come in and changed the business or whatever.
Yeah, and we find that here, and I'm sure you guys do. There's a lot flying under the radar, and a new CEO comes in or new board, and then wham, where have you guys been? Which is great. This would be a great coming out party yearly for those types of companies. All right, so we'll put this information in the newsroom and on the podcast and all of that. But where should folks, if they're now listening, apply?
Yeah, It sounds like you'll put the link on the website, and,
Yep.
and it's really that simple. Is you go to the website and you can open up an application. You can certainly reach out to the team as well. I'm sure you can put our contact numbers on the site as well, and they can reach out if they have questions. And really the financial performance too is just really one aspect of the judging. There's really several other judging criteria, including entrepreneurial spirit, purpose, growth, impact. There's not really any size requirements either, although certainly what I've seen over the years as I've participated is the judges want to see proof of concept. And so usually around 10 million or so in revenue would suggest that those companies have started to prove that concept and continue to grow. And then I also think it's about the story sometimes. It's not just about all those judging criteria, but it's, is it innovative? Have they changed an industry? Or have they overcome some amazing challenges, even like COVID or financial challenges, raising capital, those kinds of things really resonate with the judges. As Ryan alluded to, these judges are all been through the same entrepreneurial journey. And so hearing those struggles and stories really resonate with them.
Yeah. And is there anything that you can pinpoint, Ryan, that made your guys' application stand out?
Man, what would have made our application stand out? I don't know exactly what would have, and they don't tell us, but I definitely think we have a lot of entrepreneurial spirit. So that for me sticks out. I think throughout our whole organization, we have a lot of, it's one of our values as being critical thinkers and entrepreneurs. So it really meshes with the recognition.
Yeah. And whenever I'm a judge of any competition, you got the financials, the market fit, all of that. And this is, maybe I shouldn't be a judge, but if they've gone through misery and heartache and they've got the battle scars, that puts them up a bit in my judging rubric. Because if you can go through that, you can probably do pretty much anything. But again, the judges are very diverse. Should we list off a few of the other winners real quick?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, happy to do that. I mean, we if you think about entrepreneurs or successful companies in Utah, most of those companies have participated in our program and have been recognized as winners. And I mean, just to name a few, Carl Sun from Lucid, Davis Smith and Stefan Jacobs from Cotopaxi, Alex Bean and Blake Murray from Divvy, Jeremy Andrews from Traeger that Ryan mentioned earlier. Aaron Bradley from Zaya Active, Eric Ray and Dennis Steele from Podium, Vanessa and Nate Quigley from Chatbooks, just to name a few.
Yeah.
And those are all just great brands and companies here in Utah that have been through the program and have been recognized.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's a reason for them, being on that list and also being successful in their enterprises there. Okay. So March 4th, application deadline.
Yep.
And then the fun starts after that.
Yeah, as soon as we get the applications in, then they go to the judges and they start to review them, and then the next step after that is interviews, and we'll be going on site for those that are comfortable with that in the current COVID environment, and others will do virtually, and then and we'll do those interviews, and they'll get a chance to meet the judges down the road, and ultimately the judges will make their decisions, and then the awards gala will be in June. Again, don't have the date locked down yet, but it will be kind of in the middle of June.
Perfect. Very cool. Yep, and then we'll include all this pertinent information in the podcast description and on the website, and we'll send out some social posts as well. Thank you, Ryan, for taking the time, and thank you, Shawn. We really appreciate your partnership over the years, and we're honored to be a part of this process.
Thanks, Garrett. We enjoy the relationship and appreciate your time as well.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right.